All right, let's get right into it. For, well, forever, we thought we had the rules of our own cosmic backyard figured out. We assumed everything that flew through our solar system actually belonged here. And then, one day, a single visitor showed up on a path that just completely defied everything we knew and shattered our most basic rule of gravity.
You know, the source material for this explainer has this fantastic quote that just sets the stage perfectly. It basically says that our cozy little understanding of the universe, it was maybe a bit small, like we'd built a fence and called it the whole world. And it was only a matter of time before something from outside that fence decided to drop in.
So, before this mysterious stranger arrived, our solar system felt like a really predictable place. The source has this great way of putting it. Every object in our system was basically one of the domesticated pets of your sun. They were predictable, they circled around, and they always played by the rules of gravity.
And these pets, they pretty much came in two flavors. On one hand, you had the rocky herd. Yep, the asteroids. You know, dense, metallic, mostly just hanging out in their own neighborhood, the asteroid belt. And on the other hand, you had the icy drifters, the comets. These are those famous dirty snowballs coming in from the super cold, far-out parts of the system, the ones that put on a real show when they swing by the sun.
But here is the absolute key. It didn't matter if it was an asteroid or a comet. They all followed one unbreakable rule. They were all stuck in an elliptical orbit. You can think of it like a giant cosmic leash. No matter how far out they went, the sun's gravity always, eventually, yanked them back. They were, as our source calls them, elliptical prisoners, and they were always destined to return.
Okay, so to really get why this one visitor was such a mind-blowing deal, we have to talk about the fence it just broke through. We're talking about the very edge of our solar system, that dividing line between what belongs to our sun and what is truly 100% alien.
And that fence, it's the Oort cloud. And it is a staggering 100,000 astronomical units away. Just to put that in perspective, that's 100,000 times the distance from the Earth to the sun. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Way out there in this huge icy shell, the sun's gravitational pull is just barely hanging on. That is the fence.
So this brings us to what's called the threshold of certainty. See, for any object to be considered a real interstellar visitor, it couldn't just wander in. It had to come screaming across that line with a speed and an angle that proved it was never the sun's property in the first place. It had to be a foreigner, through and through.
Which brings us to the moment that changed everything. The arrival of the very first confirmed interstellar messenger, an object they named Oumuamua. And it didn't just cross the threshold, it blasted right through it, on a path of pure, beautiful defiance.
So this is the big question, right? I mean, we've cataloged hundreds of thousands of objects whizzing around out there. What made this one so different? How could astronomers look at its trajectory and just know with total certainty, hey, this one's not from around here?
Well, the answer was all in its path. Unlike literally everything else we'd ever seen, it wasn't on that familiar closed-loop elliptical path. No, this one was on a hyperbolic orbit. Now that's the kind of path an object takes when it's moving way too fast for gravity to grab it. It's a one-way ticket. It just slingshots around our sun and then shoots right back out into deep space, never, ever to return.
And this isn't just a hunch. We have the hard data to prove it. There's a number called orbital eccentricity that basically describes the shape of an orbit. A perfect circle is 0. A typical elliptical orbit is somewhere between 0 and 1. But anything over 1.0, that's an escape path. That's a hyperbolic orbit. Oumuamua clocked in at 1.2. That number was the smoking gun, the mathematical fingerprint proving it was just a cosmic tourist passing through.
But that number, 1.2, it was so much more than just a piece of data. It was concrete proof that our cosmic fence wasn't so secure after all. And according to our source, that single realization sent this massive shockwave, not just through the world of astronomy, but through our own psychological and even our physical systems.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. Think about what this does to the human brain. When we see something we expect, like another elliptical orbit, our brain just hums along in these efficient beta waves. It's that calm, yep, seen this before, got it mode. But the second the brain processes that totally unexpected hyperbolic path, bam, it triggers a burst of high-frequency gamma waves. That's the actual neurological signature of a paradigm shift. It's the brain literally being forced to rewrite its own map of reality.
The source material takes this even deeper, looking at it from a yogic perspective. It describes this discovery as an energetic shockwave moving right through the body. First, it hits the solar plexus chakra, our center of control, and just shatters our certainty.
Then it moves up and rattles the heart chakra, shaking our deep, unspoken trust in how the cosmos is supposed to work. And finally, it hits the throat chakra, as our minds literally struggle to find the words for something so new, so completely unprecedented.
And that's really the core idea here. This whole journey, from being so comfortable and certain to being completely shocked, it's not just some random astronomical event. The source argues it's a necessary challenge. It's a wake-up call to our own mental habits, to the inertia that loves to keep us in those safe, predictable patterns.
Which brings us to this really cool final concept from the source. It's called the Dragon Trial, and it takes all these cosmic ideas and turns them into a powerful metaphor for our own lives. So step 1, map your own Oort cloud. What are the fears, the beliefs, the habits that keep you stuck in that safe, predictable routine? Step 2, calculate your hyperbola. What is that bold new path you'd take if you weren't bound by that old gravity? And then finally, step 3, initiate thrust. Take one small, real action that defies your old habits and starts you on a new, unknown journey.
So it all comes down to this one final, really powerful question. What elliptical orbit in your life will you break?